What's going on, everybody? I see that there's one person watching or waiting. I'm going to give it a minute or two to get started. I'm a minute early. I scheduled it like 15 minutes ago, so sorry about the heads up. When I get to do these things, it's not always planned, so I try to give a heads up if I can and try to schedule it if I can, but a lot of the times I kind of just got to go and do it when I have a window. And I've been wanting to work through this free code camp stuff. And if you've watched the previous videos, some of these have been pre-recorded and the last couple I've done have been live. And I'm planning on just finishing out this whole thing live and doing streams for the rest of these, at least for the responsive web design certification that freeCodeCamp offers. I've done the basic HTML and HTML5, the CSS, the applied visual design, and so on and so on. And now I'm on Flexbox. I have grid after this, and which I'll be doing in another video. And then I have the projects, which they have mentioned below, that I also plan on live streaming when I create all of these projects. And if that's something that you're interested in, let me know. I haven't really planned out, how I'm going to make this stuff look. I was just going to get to it when I got to it, kind of doing it how it would be if I were to do this all over again, because that's kind of what I'm doing. So with that said, yeah, if there's anything you want to see from these, from this series, if there's anything that you want to see in particular that I do, I am planning on working through the rest of these sections. I just don't know how soon I'm going to get to them. I know that the JavaScript section is pretty big and has a lot of stuff in it, and I am terrible with algorithms. And I know a few of the algorithms here because I remember doing them, but that would be something that would be kind of difficult for me to do. So I don't know if you guys want to watch me suffer and struggle through all this stuff that I don't have that good of an understanding of. But I could also jump ahead and move over to the front end libraries, which is something that I would be more comfortable in. And I can explain a lot more of the stuff here because I've worked with React. I currently work in Sass. I've used jQuery. I use Bootstrap now, and I can build those projects out too. So depending on what you want to see, I'd love to hear about that and what everybody would like me to do. So with that said, I see that there's actually already a few people in here. I'm going to try to limit the amount of chat that I pay attention to while I'm doing these, because I do want to kind of just move through the stuff and not get too caught up on the chat. I notice I have a bad tendency of kind of digressing and paying too much attention to the chat sometimes. And then this turned into like a Q&A. If you want a Q&A, if you want to do like an Ask Me Anything, or if you just want to have an hour with me, let me know and I'll do that on a separate stream. If that's something that people want to see, I'll make sure to stream more of that. But for the most part, this is going to be mostly just the curriculum on freeCodeCamp. Now that we're a few minutes in, I might as well just get started. Let's check out the CSS Flexbox section, and we'll start with the introduction. And here we go. A website's user interface, the UI, has two components. First, there are the visual elements such as colors, fonts, and images. Second, there is the placement or positioning of those elements. In responsive web design, a UI layout must accommodate many different browsers and devices accessing the content. CSS3 introduces flexible boxes or Flexbox to create page layouts for dynamic UI. It is a layout mode that arranges elements in a predictable way for different screen sizes and browsers. While somewhat new, all popular modern browsers support Flexbox, except IE, because IE is not popular or modern. But let's see. This section covers how to use Flexbox and different layouts options that it offers. So I do use Flexbox a bit at work. I'm in a custom framework where I do work, so a lot of our front end stuff is kind of accounted for. Occasionally, I'll have to go in and change some things and add some flex, and we don't really use grid that often. At my previous job, we used a lot more Flexbox, and I actually was in charge of a project that used a little bit of grid. So there may be some things that I know pretty well here, and there may be some things that are new to me because I don't know it all. But we'll get through this together, and we'll see how much I can get done. I should be able to get it all done. Hopefully I don't get stuck. I'm going to check out the chat real quick. I see a lot of people have been talking so far. I wasn't really expecting this many people in right away, which is kind of nice. So I see that Jose, what's up? I see you were just reading about Flexbox. Well, hopefully, if you don't know about freeCodeCamp, or if you have been working on freeCodeCamp, you can check out their curriculum here that I'm going to work through right now. And if you like it, you can go ahead and try to do it yourself. And if you get stuck, maybe you can come back and check out this video later on, and maybe it'll help you get unstuck. Let's see, Trey, seeing an established developer do these motivate me because it lets me know I'm going through something that's useful. Absolutely. freeCodeCamp is one of the first things that I always recommend. It is an extremely useful resource. It's 100% free, and it's just jam-packed with good content. And even if you don't want to do all their curriculum, I always recommend that it's a great place to find projects to do, because they have a lot of different projects that they have you work through. And if you've already gone through some of the HTML and CSS stuff already, and you don't want to go through that curriculum, that's fine. But that doesn't mean you can't just do the projects that they have listed here, because they're really good beginner projects for people who haven't really built anything yet. Let's see. Yes, front end was my way in. It was actually heavily focused on HTML and CSS with a little bit of JavaScript, because that's basically what I was good at. And over the years, I've gotten more into JavaScript, and now I work mostly in Angular, and I'm a front end / full stack developer. Somebody's learning from White Hat Junior. Cool. I'm not going to get into any white hat stuff here. I'm about ready to take that video down, because it has gotten so many views and it's not my content. With that said, we're going to walk in and start with this Flexbox stuff, because White Hat Junior will not be discussed during this video. All right, let's see here. First challenge of the Flexbox curriculum: use display flex to position two boxes. This section uses alternating challenges, challenge styles to show you how to use CSS to position elements in a flexible way. First, a challenge will explain theory, then a practical challenge using a simple tweak component will apply the Flexbox concept. Placing CSS property display flex on an element allows you to use other flex properties to build responsive pages. All right, so there's different display properties when you're working with CSS: display block, display inline, display flex, display grid. So applying flex will make an element display flex, and then will allow a lot of the flex properties and things that you can use with flex to be used on that element. So add display to the container box and set the value to flex. All right, so that just wants us to go in here, and we're going to go display and do flex, and that's going to be this challenge here. Nice and simple. As you can see, it lined everything up right there to the side automatically just by applying flex. Let's see, add flex superpowers to the tweet embed. All right, to the right of I can't read, so bear with me. To the right is the tweet embed that will be used as a practical example. Some of the elements would look better with different layouts. The last challenge demonstrated display flex. Here you'll add it to several components in the tweet embed to start adjusting their positioning. Add CSS property display flex to all the following items. Note that the selectors are already set for you in the CSS. All right, you got the header, the profile name, the follow button, and the H3, H4, and footer and stats. All right, so they want us to just display flex in all of those. As you can see, they kind of already gave us little empty spaces here where they want us to put the display flex. So it's kind of setting it up for us. And it's really not going to be too difficult. You really could just copy this. I mentioned in other videos that it's fine to copy and paste this stuff. If you want to type it out to get muscle memory, that's fine. Not necessary in my opinion, but I'm just going to do it for the example. Don't forget your semicolon, because it's not added here. And if you do forget it here, you will break your CSS. So since I did that one, we could also do a bunch of shortcuts, and I could just copy that and then move this down. And I did that by using Shift Alt up and down to copy it, and then I let go of Shift and I just use Alt or Option if you're on Mac and move that down too. So I'm going to do that again, Shift Alt, press down, which makes a copy of that, and then I'm going to go down and drop it here. The only problem is it is giving us an empty space there, which doesn't really matter, but if this were a real code base, I would want to clean up that empty space because it doesn't look good. And you want your code properly formatted and not looking all messy and have bad indentation and whatnot. So and I think those are all the properties they asked us to do. I just looked for the blank spaces. I didn't read this stuff over here because since they gave us all the blank spaces, that's just what I used as a guide. I honestly should have read all this to make sure that I got them all, but we'll find out when we run the test, right? And Control Enter, and that passed. I'm not clicking on the complete button, which fills up the progress bar. I'm just doing Control Enter now because it saves me a click. And yeah, so I don't know if it'll show on your screen. It wasn't showing on mine. Let's see. Use the flex direction property to make a row. Adding display flex to an element turns it into a flex container. This makes it possible to align any children of that element into rows or columns. You do this by adding the flex direction property to the parent item and setting it to row or column. Creating a row will align the children horizontally, and creating a column will align the children vertically. Other options for flex direction is row reverse and column reverse. That just basically takes the last one and puts it in the front for both of those rows and columns. So let's see. And default value for flex direction is row. So add the CSS property flex direction to the box container ID element and give it a value of row reverse. So you're going to see, we're going to go here. We're going to do flex direction, and then we're going to do row reverse. And now you're going to see the red switch over to the blue because that's just reversing that row. And we're going to run that and complete that test and move on to the next one. All right. Easy peasy. Let me see if there's any questions so far. I am not an expert in anything, Pete the Gamer or Pete Gamer. I am far from an expert. I am always learning. And it takes many, many years to become an expert in anything. And with programming, it can take a lifetime to become an expert in programming. So I'm definitely not an expert. I still consider myself to be fairly junior, even though I've been working professional for the last like 3.5 years. I'm technically like intermediate developer, but I tend to be pretty hard on myself and don't realize that I probably know more than I do, but I still feel like I'm a junior developer every day. You know, imposter syndrome, self-taught, whatever you want to call it. I still don't feel like I know that much, but I kind of do, I guess. I don't know. All right. Apply the flex direction property to create the row in the tweet embed. The header and the footer in the tweet embed example have child items that could be arranged as rows using flex direction property. This tells CSS to align the children horizontally. Add CSS property flex direction to both header and footer and set the value to row. So we'll look for header right here. So the header element, and then we're going to do flex direction. I should just be copying and pasting because I type slow and there's no need to type this stuff out, but we'll do it at least the first time. And then I'll just go down to the row or to the footer and take that geez, the footer's way down here. All right. And there you have it. That should do that. And moving through this fairly quickly. If I'm going too fast, if there's more stuff that you want me to explain, let me know. Like I said, I will answer questions pertaining to this curriculum, but I don't want to digress and move on to different stuff. I'd rather like stick to the topic. If you have questions later, I'll try to answer some, but I'm mostly going to just work on this stuff. But if you have questions pertaining to CSS Flexbox that I can answer or from this curriculum, let me know. All right, use the flex direction property to make a column. The last two challenges use flex direction property to set the row. The property can also create a column by vertically stacking the children in a container. Add CSS property flex direction to the box container ID and give it a value of column. So nice and easy. Flex direction, column, and that should do it. Now you see they stack vertically there. Moving on through it. Oh, what's going on, Jordan? Jordan has a channel, real good channel. Check it out if you're interested. He's a computer science student, and he works through a lot of the problems that he's having in school and a lot of the stuff that he's learning how to do right now. I know he's been streaming a lot, and he's been learning web development as well. So if you're interested in seeing the life of a computer science student and what that feels like and some of the stuff they have to deal with, check out Jordan's channel. It's pretty good. All right. Apply the flex direction property to create a column in the tweet embed. Did I just read that? Oh, no, there's another one. All right. Tweet embed header and footer use flex direction property earlier with the row value. Similarly, the items inside the profile name element would work well stacked as a column. Add the CSS property flex direction to the header's profile name and element and the value column. All right. So right here, we got header and profile name class there. And we'll just flex direction, and then one's column, and that's that. And then you can see if you saw up here, it was on the side. I'll comment that out. Oh, see, I work on a Windows computer, but my personal computer is a Mac, so I'm more used to hitting keyboard shortcuts on a Windows computer since I'm always coding on a Windows computer, and my personal computer I'm using right now is a Mac. So I use Control instead of Command to comment that out. So I comment that out, and you'll see right here next to Quincy Larson, his Twitter handle is on the side. When I uncomment the code that I just added, it puts it on the bottom, stacking it vertically like it did with the two colored squares in the earlier challenge. All right, let's see. Oh, good. A whole bunch of reading. I'm really going to sound dumb now. All right. Align elements using the justify content property. Sometimes the flex items within a flex container do not fill the space in the container. It is common to want to tell CSS how to align the space out the flex items in a certain way. Fortunately, justify content property has several options to do this. First, there is some important terminology to understand before reviewing those options. Here is a useful image to show a row to illustrate the concepts below. I'm not going to go to that image just yet. I'm just going to stick to this curriculum. If you're doing this, you can go and do that. I know most of these properties for Flex. I've used pretty much all of them before in some way or another. So I'm just going to read through this. Recall that setting in a flex container as a row places the flex items side by side and left to right. A flex container set as a column places the flex items in vertical stack from top to bottom. For each, the direction of the flex items are arranged is called the main axis. For a row, this is horizontal line that cuts through each item. And for a column, the main axis is a vertical line through each item. There are several options for how to space flex items along the line in this main axis. One of the most common used is justify content center. If you're having trouble centering stuff in HTML and CSS, flex is your friend, trust me, which aligns all the items to the center inside a flex container. Other options include flex start, which aligns the items to the start of the flex container. For a row, it pushes all the items to the left. For a column, it pushes all the items to the top. The default alignment is if no justified content is specified. Flex N aligns all the items to the end of the flex container. In a row, it pushes it to the right. In a column, it pushes it to the bottom. Flex between aligns the items to the center of the main axis with extra space placed between the items. The first and last items are pushed to the very edge of the container. For example, in a row, the first item is against the left side of the container, and in the last is right side of the container. Then remaining space is distributed evenly among the others. Space around, similar to space between, but the first and last items are not locked to the edges. They have space distributed around the items with half space on either side of the flex container, and space evenly distributes space between the flex items with a full space at either end of the flex container. Man, that was a mouthful. All right, I'm gonna need some water after that. What's going on, Christian? All right, let's see here. An example helps show this property in action. Add CSS property, justify content to the box container element and give it a value of center. Bonus, try the other options, justify content property in the code editor to see the difference. We'll do the bonus just so everybody can see the different spacing that was mentioned with all these different flex properties. I'm going to do the first one that they asked, which is justify content center. So center. So you're going to see everything kind of get justified and align their center. Then what was the other one? Let's go to Flex Start, which is probably just going to look exactly how I did right before I did that. We're just going to swap that out there, and you can see that it looks just how I did when we started because that is the default setting there. Flex N is going to swap that. I'm just going to, now you see it swap that around. Space between is going to give it a nice little space between the items there, and put that in the center there, and then space around is going to give it a little bit more padding on each side with the grays there, and let's see, and space evenly is going to make everything look nice and spaced out in the same sizes there. So there you have it. Those are all the different types of flex that they had. We did the bonus. Voila. Oh, it wants it to be center, so I still have it spaced evenly. It won't let me pass the test because I decided to do the bonuses. There we go. And this is actually going faster than I thought it was going to. We're almost halfway done. Use the justified content property in the tweet embed. The last challenge showed an example of the justified content property for the tweet embed. This property can be applied to align the items in the profile name element. Add the CSS property justified content to the headers profile name element and set the value to any of the options from the last challenge. All right. So I'm lazy and I'm just going to go with center because that's what was the easiest one and the one that I remember. And I mean, we can do whatever one, so it doesn't matter. So you see, if you notice that, I'll comment this out so you can see the small alignment that it did there. And then, yeah, that's pretty much it. Nice and easy. All right. Oh, more reading. Geez. All right. Let's see. Align elements using the align items property. The align items property is similar to justify content. Recall that justify content property aligns flex items along the main axis for rows and main axis horizontal line for columns in a vertical line. It is a vertical line. Flex containers also have a cross axis, which is the opposite of the main axis. For rows, the cross axis is vertical, and for columns, the cross axis is horizontal. CSS offers align items property to align flex items along the cross axis. For a row, it tells CSS how to push the items to the entire row up or down within a container, and for a column, how to push all the items from left to right within a container. Different values available for align items include flex start, flex end, center, stretch, and baseline. So I guess I'll read them. Flex start aligns the items at the start of the container. For rows, this aligns the items to the top of the container. For columns, it aligns items to the left of the container. Flex end aligns items to the end of the container. For rows, this aligns items to the bottom of the container. For columns, this aligns items to the right of the container. Center aligns the items to the center. For rows, this vertical aligns items equal space above and below the items. For columns, this horizontally aligns items equal space to the left and to the right of the items. Stretch the items to fill the flex container. For example, items are stretched to fill the containers top to bottom, and default value is no if no align items is specified. So whenever you don't define align items, it's going to be stretch for the most part. And baseline aligns the items to their baseline. Baseline is a text concept. Think of it as the line that the letters sit on. All right, and an example helps show this property in action. Add CSS property align items to the box container element and give it a value of center. For bonus, try all of the other ones. So I'm assuming that we're going to want to do the bonus again. So first, let's just add the align items center so you can see what that looks like to pass the challenge. And then we will do the bonus like we did last time, and I won't forget to put it back to center. So you can see it centered everything there. It looks pretty bad, but it's getting everything centered like you would expect it to. Let's check out Flex Start, which will align everything to the start of this container. As you can see up here, Flex End which will align it to the end. We did center. Stretch is the default, which is what you saw it when we first started, when there was no align. Items added, it just looked like that, stretched all the way up and down. And then baseline is going to align it to what those letters on the bottom of the letters, I think. Yeah, see how hello is nice and aligned with goodbye there on the baseline of the letters there. And then we'll just go center to finish this off. And then I guess center still does that alignment there. So maybe the baseline thing, I don't know what I'm talking about. Either way, we passed the challenge. So that's all that matters, right? All right, let me see if anyone's asking anything. I see that there's people in here. Again, if you've got any questions pertaining to the curriculum, I'd be happy to answer. If not, I'm just going to keep moving through this at this pace. If I'm going too fast, tell me to slow down. If I'm going too slow, I can't read that good. So, all right. Use the align items property in the tweet embed. The last challenge introduced align items property and gave an example. This property can be applied to a few tweet embed elements to align the flex items inside of them. Add CSS property, align items to the headers, follow button element, set its value to center. All right, where is that? Follow button here. We do align items, and I can't type. Jeez. And that's that. And I really did not see the change there. Did you see the change? I didn't see the change. Oh, there it is. Okay, so it's basically centering it and removing the extra padding that it has there by centering it and not having it stretch the whole width there. So there you go. All right, let's see. Use the flex wrap property to wrap a row or column. CSS Flexbox has a feature to split a flex item into multiple rows or columns. By default, a flex container will fit all items together. For example, a row will all be on one line. However, using flex wrap property tells CSS to wrap items. This means extra items move into a new row or column. The breakpoint of where the wrapping happens depends on the size of the items and the size of the container. CSS also has options for directions of the wrap. You got no wrap. This is the default setting. The item does not wrap. That's why when you kind of throw stuff like in a flex container, you'll just see everything just get squished up instantly. And if you have a bunch of stuff, it'll look really weird, and that's because there's no wrapping happening. Wrap items from left to right if they are in a row. From top to bottom, they are or top to bottom if they are in a column. Wrap reverse wraps the items from right to left if they are in a row, and from bottom to top if they are in a column. The current layout has too many boxes for one row. Add CSS property flex wrap to the container, to the box container element, and give it a value of wrap. So nice and easy. We're just going to go here. We're going to give it flex wrap, and we're going to just say wrap, and that should do it. Use the flex shrink property to shrink items. So far, all the properties in this challenge apply to the flex container, the parent of the flex items. However, there are several useful properties for the flex items. The first is the flex shrink property. When it's used, it allows an item to shrink if the container is too small. Items shrink when the width of the parent container is smaller than the combined widths of the flex items within it. The flex shrink property takes numbers as values. The higher the number, the more it will shrink compared to the other items in the container. For example, if one item has a flex shrink value of 1 and the other item has a flex shrink value of 3, the one with the value of 3 will shrink 3 times as much as the other. Add CSS property flex shrink to both box 1, box 2, and give box 1 a value of 1 and box 2 a value of 2. So flex shrink, and we're going to give this one a value of 1. Copy that, and that's that. And then we're going to make that one 2. And there you have it. Nice and easy, right? All right, you guys aren't saying much. Quiet crowd tonight. Maybe I'm doing these things a little too late and everybody's sleepy. I know I'm a little bit sleepy, so Yeah. All right, let's see. Let's use the flex grow property to expand items. The opposite of flex shrink is the flex grow property. Recall that flex shrink controls the size of the items when the container shrinks. The flex grow property controls the size of the items when the parent container expands. Using a similar example from the last challenge, if one item has a flex grow value of 1 and the other one has a flex grow value of 3, the one with the value of 3 will grow 3 times as much as the other. Add the property flex grow to both the box 1 and box 2 and give box 1 a value of 1 and box 2 a value of 2. So very similar to the last challenge here. We're just going to do flex grow this time instead of flex shrink. We're going to give this one a value of 1. I'm going to do Shift, Alt, or Option, depending on what operating system you're running. I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to just move that there. And there you go. It's an easy. This is actually going a lot faster than I thought it would. So use the flex basis property to set the initial size of an item. The flex basis property specifies the initial size of an item before CSS makes adjustment with flex shrink or flex grow. The units used in the flex basis property are the same as the other size properties: pixels, ems, percentages, etc. The value auto sizes the items based on the content. Set the initial size of the box using flex basis. Add the CSS property flex basis to both box 1 and box 2. Give box 1 a value of 10em and box 2 a value of 20em. So we're going to go here. We're going to do flex basis. We're going to do, how many em did it want? It wanted 10em. Ems are relative to the parent, and rems are relative to like the body or the highest level setting of that property. I get them confused. I wish I could explain them better. I feel like I should know them better. They should have named them better, rems, ems. Either way, if you're more interested in understanding how relative sizing works in CSS, just Google the difference between em and rem. And again, if I'm not mistaken, em is for the direct parent sizing and rem is for the much higher level sizing for that particular property. With that said, we completed that. Nice and easy. Man, I'm flying through this. All right, let's see. Use the flex shorthand property. All right, CSS has a lot of shorthand for a lot of different stuff. You have it for margin, padding, for border, for all those things. There's just shorthand for a lot of stuff where you can write pretty much what you would do on like 3 different properties in one line with one property. So let's read about the flex shorthand. There is shorthand available to set several flex properties at once. The flex grow, flex shrink, and flex basis properties can all be set together using the flex property. For example, and this used to confuse me a lot when I first started learning about Flexbox, and it's actually very simple once you like do it a little bit and you realize that it's not anything like crazy going on, but it is confusing when you first have to do it. And it just said my keyboard died. So I'm hoping right now that my keyboard's not dead, because that would really suck. Let's see. For example, flex 1, 0, and 10 pixels will set the flex grow to 1, flex shrink to 0, and the flex basis to 10 pixels. The default property settings are flex 0, 1, and auto. Add CSS property flex to both box 1 and box 2. Give box 1 the values of flex grow 2, flex shrink 2, and flex basis 150 pixels. Give box 2 the values of flex grow 1, flex shrink 1, and flex basis 150 pixels. So it's basically gonna, okay, so flex grow 2 and flex grow 1. All right, so one's gonna be a little bit bigger than the other, but the base is gonna be the same value there. These values will cause box 1 to grow and fill the extra space at twice the rate of box 2 when the container is greater than 300 pixels, and shrink twice the rate of box 2 when the container is less than 300 pixels. 300 pixels is the combined size of the flex basis value for the 2 boxes. All right, let's see if my keyboard's dead. It is. Hold on, it says connected now. All right, hopefully it doesn't die on me, because I don't want to have to like go plugging it in, because that would be a mess. But it wouldn't be one of my live streams if something didn't happen, because something always happens. All right, so real easy. We're going to say flex here, And then, so grow is your first one. So it wants the value of 1 to be, let me see. So the value of 1 is going to be flex grow 2. Then we're going to do flex shrink 2. And then we're going to do basis 150 px. And then here, I'm just going to type it out so you don't get lost when I'm copying and pasting. We'll do flex. And it's going to be flex grow is going to be 1, flex shrink is going to be 1, and the flex basis is going to be 150 px. So basically, this is the same as typing out all of these things one by one. If I did flex grow, wait, I typed something wrong there. Yeah, I did messed up. Did I? Yeah. Oh, yeah, this is supposed to be 1. My bad. I'm screwing you up if you're following along. That's supposed to be 1, not 2 on box number 2. But if I were to do this without the shorthand, I would be basically doing flex grow 1, flex shrink. Sorry, can't type. Shrink 1, and then flex. This is awful. And then 1, 2. All right, there we go. So this is basically doing the same thing in one line. It's saying flex grow is 1, flex shrink is 1, and flex basis is 150. So instead of typing out all these 3 values, you can do it with just this one property called flex, and it gets the same exact thing accomplished. Let's see if we can trick the tester. I'm sure that it's just looking for those properties, and it's not even going to know that I'm not using the shorthand. Told you so. All right, let's move on to the next one. Here we go. CSS Flexbox. Use the order property to rearrange items. The order property is used to tell CSS the order of how Flexbox items appear in the Flex container. By default, items will appear in the same order they come in the source HTML. The property takes number values, and negative numbers can be used. Add CSS property order to both box 1 and box 2. Give box 1 the value of 2 and give box 2 the value of 1. So it's just going to have them flip around. One place that I use order a lot, or I've found myself using order a lot, is when I add breakpoints and there's certain elements on the page that are side by side, but I want one of the elements that would naturally wrap and go underneath the other to be ahead of that one on a smaller screen. That's when I'll use order many times, and that's when I found myself using order. So it's really nice when you incorporate order with media queries and try to accommodate for mobile layouts, and you want stuff that is side by side but is on the right. Like say you got 2 elements, one on the left and one on the right, like this blue and this red. And then when you break down into a smaller viewport, you actually want the one on the red to be on the top. But since the way that the HTML is structured, naturally that item is going to be under the blue instead of on top of the blue. So if you use order, then you can tell that order 1 and then give the blue order 2 and then be good to go when you set it to breakpoint. Sorry if I confused you there, because hearing it back in my own head sounds all kinds of messed up. So let's just go ahead and do the challenge. All right, here. So box 1, what does it want? It wants box 1 to be value of 2, and then box 2 of value of 1. And that should do it. Didn't like it. Did I mess up? No, I didn't. I didn't notice if it flipped. I think it did because I was talking about the red and the blue there. All right, let's see. We're almost to the end of this. So use align self property. The final property for flex items is align self. This property allows you to adjust each item's alignment individually instead of setting them at once. It is useful since other common adjustment techniques using CSS properties float, clear, and vertical align do not work on flex items. Align self accepts the same value of align items and will override any value set by align items property. Add CSS property align self to both box 1 and box 2. Give box 1 a value of center and give box 2 a value of end. So we're going to, box 1 is going to be align self. What did it want? Center? Is that what it wanted? Enter. And then the other one is going to be align self flex end. So and there you go. See, that's it. I think this might be the last challenge. Yeah, that was quick. I pretty much zipped right through the Flexbox section, which I thought was actually going to take me a little bit longer than that. So there you have it. I will be doing grid in another video. I'm thinking maybe it's a little bit late. I don't know if I want to do it tonight. I might save grid for tomorrow. And then once I actually do grid and work through these, that it seems to have a few different more. And I haven't worked that much with grid. Before we go, though, I will give you a great resource that I often recommend most people that are trying to learn Flexbox or grid is CSS Tricks has a great post on both of those. And let me see if I can CSS Tricks Flexbox. So it's a complete guide to Flexbox. And then if you do grid, it has a complete guide to grid. Both of these are very, very good. Highly recommend them. It's basically my cheat sheet. Whenever I run into some Flexbox issues, I go in here. I've been using this same post since they created it. And I don't know how long this post has been up, but it's been up for a while. It's been up since Flexbox started gaining popularity back when I started using it. And it's really, really amazing. They break it down visually. They kind of tell you everything that it's doing. When you're looking at one side is the parent for the Flex container. And then the other side are the children that are the Flex items within that element, that container. So you just kind of go down here and figure out like what you need to do. I mean, I've used this resource so many times, so often. I find myself coming right back to this same exact blog post. You see, it does a really good job of showing you visually what a lot of that spacing is doing and what a lot of that alignment is doing. And just overall, CSS Tricks is an amazing blog, amazing learning website that has so much information for a lot of this stuff. And they also have like a really cool little scroll bar there, which kind of looks good too. So if you're looking for examples too, I remember copying and pasting a lot of this stuff and using it on my own websites when I was trying to figure out Flexbox. And you can actually do like a whole Flexbox navigation here that they have all the CSS for there. And then they have like a really good layout for a page with like a header and an aside that also will break down into mobile friendly options, if I'm not mistaken. So it's just overall just a great little guide if you're trying to learn Flexbox. And after doing the free code camp section of Flexbox, if you find yourself still kind of stuck and needing help with some things, check out this CSS Tricks complete guide to Flexbox for additional learning. All right, with all that said, I'm going to end this stream real quick. I see that there was quite a few people that came in and out of here. I see that there was quite a few people that stuck around for a while. I want to say I appreciate you very much. I hope that these videos help. If you did find value in them, make sure to hit that like button, rewatch them if you go through this stuff and you get stuck and you need to just kind of see how it's done. And, you know, drop some comments and let me know if there's any way that I can improve this series or what you would like to see from it in the future. With all that said, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Now it's kind of awkward because I'm looking for the end button and I can't find it. So I found it. All right. See ya.